Okay, this is the motorcycle Lair again. We're going to talk about looking at used bikes this week and what you need to look at when you're going to buy a used motorcycle. It doesn't matter whose name is on it. Harley, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Victory. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what model, what style bike it is. There are certain things you're going to look for on every bike when it comes into buying a used motorcycle. Now, the first thing you want to know is year of the bike, model of the bike, make of the bike, and mileage. Those are the big ones. Right now, average is 3,000 to 5,000 miles a year on a motorcycle. Any more than that, they're saying it's too high. Any less than that, it's doing really good. Apparently not riding it that much. Some of the things, though, you really need to look for on a used bike is, first of all, you want to look at tires. You really got to keep an eye on tread pattern. Make sure the tread isn't worn down. You don't want to have bald spots, steel belts sticking out, anything like that. When it comes to looking at tires, you also got to think about when you have spoked wheels, similar to the front wheel on this night train. If you've got a spoked wheel like this, not only are you going to put a tire on it, but you're going to have a tube and a rim strip inside the tire. Something else you got to look at. They're not real expensive, but they do add up over time. If you're looking at a bike and it's been sitting any long periods, any more than 6 months, then you're going to have to really look at fluids, leaks, things like that. I mean, there are certain bikes that have certain leaks they're notorious for. You just kind of expect them to be there. They're a pain. They can be fixed, but they're just kind of there. Bike's been sitting, say, 2 years without being ridden. You can guarantee your tires are going to be bad. They're going to have flat spots and they're going to be dry rotted. You'll see cracks inside right inside here. You'll start to see cracks, and it's getting to be dangerous. And that's on front or rear tires. I don't care if it's who makes it, Dunlop, Metzler, anybody. Bike's been sitting for 2 years, the tires are probably shot. Then you got to look at other things. Brakes. How bad are the brakes on these things now? How worn down are brake pads? Things like that become important. Other things you want to look at, particularly Harley-Davidson, you have belts or chain drives. Most metric cruisers, a lot of them, you have a shaft drive setup, so there's nothing for you to do to change the fluid. If that's the case, you want to check it for leaks. On something like on this one, you've got a belt sitting in here. You've got belt drive or a chain drive. You want to look for wear and tear in here, cracks in the belt. You want to look for dried out chain with rust on it if you're talking chain drives. You want to look at gaskets that are changed on a regular basis. Derby cover gasket, inspection cover gasket. These are real big leaking spots. You will see these gaskets wear out even before they come due for a service. It's not unusual. They do leak. They can be replaced. Sometimes some people just live with it and move on. Particularly for Harley-Davidsons on an Evo style motor, one leak you got to look for is a base gasket leak. It's going to be right in here. You'll see where this gasket down here will leak, and you'll start seeing fluid drip down. And that's something that's going to have to be fixed. It's not a cheap fix, but it can be done. On twin cams, similar to this one, you're going to see a leak up here on your rocker boxes. Not unusual. Pretty normal. It'll come and go. Gets to be a nuisance. You can replace the gaskets. It's fairly inexpensive. Now, on used bikes, some things you got to look at is people who customize their bike. All that extra stuff, hand grips, mirrors, levers, headlights, turn signals, all the extra stuff they might like, you might not. They may have spent $10,000 on it. You're not going to spend 10 grand on it. It's used. You don't want to have to. They're not going to get back what they've put into it. That's just honest. It's just not going to happen. So you need to look at that. But the only thing that really improves a bike, performance-wise, is your exhaust system. Exhaust here, new intake. Bike like this is fuel injected. It's a download, so it's computerized. Carbureted bike, it's a reject. That helps the bike. You get performance and power out of that. Most other stuff is aesthetics. It's all over the look. It's how the different style look is going to go. Some people really like beach bars on a motorcycle, big wide bars. Other guys hate them, can't stand them. Some want drag bars, some want ape hangers. There's different things you can do to a motorcycle. But just because the guy who's selling it has it doesn't mean you always like it. He may have the original parts there to go with the bike. Maybe you can talk the price down. So when you're looking at these things, you got to look at these wear and tear items. Brakes, tires, belts, leaks, things like that. If these things need to be replaced, you need to talk the price down on a bike. Currently, bikes are getting pretty inexpensive to buy now to find it used. There's a lot of ways to go. Look in the paper, look in the Cycle Trader. You'll find bikes out there used. You just got to remember that somebody might have customized their bike, never planning to get rid of it, and now they have to. Something's happened. Kid's born, economy's bad, got things you got to do. You got to look at it in different ways. You don't have to like everything on a used bike. In fact, you're probably not going to. You can change it. But really, when you look at those used bikes, the big things you really do want to look for are those wear and tear items. Brakes, belts, tires. Those are the biggies. Leaks, fluid underneath it, that you want to look for. Has the bike been dropped? You know, has it been wrecked? Major things like that you want to find out before you buy a bike. Not going to let you test ride that. I'll pretty much guarantee that, especially if it's from a private seller. So you just kind of stationally fire it up and see if it runs. You might need a battery in that bike. Not unusual if it's been sitting for a while, the battery will die. So if you look at a few of these things, a few little tips to help you buy those bikes, just a lot of wear and tear and maintenance items, help you save a lot of money in the long run and a lot of money up front when you buy that bike if you can get to talk down because you need to replace some of these things. $200 or $300 in tires, not unusual. See if you can work some off the price. $100 for a battery, see if you can work some off the price. Yeah, so when you look at these things, go ahead, look at other stuff. Try to find ways that you might be able to save money on that used bike. Don't buy the first one you look at. You might find a bike you like better for less money later on. For that 3 times fast. But keep looking. You know, because it costs more doesn't make it better. Okay, sometimes that $50,000 custom motorcycle, every time you get on it, something falls off, something breaks. It's got to be fixed, and it's expensive. Find yourself a used bike. You can find a used Harley Sportster, an 80-something, about $3 grand. I can find a 4-year-old Yamaha V-Star Classic, 1100, 4 or 5 grand, low miles. They're out there. You just have to look for them. So when you get out there looking at bikes, remember, look for these wear and tear items that you're going to have to replace probably soon. See if you can't talk the guy down a little bit. If you ever have any questions, you can always email me at mlahr@cox.net, or you can find me on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you next week.